everybody, my name is Lizzie and welcome to my book review channel where I share my average opinions on hopefully above average books. Today I am going to be reviewing The Hacienda by Isabel Cañas. I just finished this book this morning and I absolutely loved it, and I highly recommend that anybody who's interested in Gothic fiction especially read this book. It was excellent. Isabel Cañas' debut novel is The Hacienda. It came out in this year, which is 2022, and it was actually one of the selections for Book of the Month's May choices, but I got it this month in August as an add-on. I had been very much looking forward to reading it, and it did not disappoint. Further down in the video, I will be sharing some spoilery thoughts, but for now I'm going to just be talking some basic premises about this book, our settings, the characters, and overall what I thought about it, and I will put up a card when we start getting into some spoilery territory, so don't worry, but please pay attention to that if you don't want to be spoiled. Let's jump into this book. I plowed through this book. It was so captivating. I was engaged in the setting, I was engaged in the plot, I was engaged in the characters from the beginning to the end. So the Hacienda takes place in Mexico in the first few decades of the 1800s. I believe it takes place from 1820 to 1823 or 24, and that's right when Mexico had declared its independence from Spain, and that plays into this book in several different ways. First of all, we get to meet our female protagonist, Beatrice, who is the daughter of a war general who fought for Mexico's independence but ultimately was executed for the role that he played, and his family was cast out from their place in society and had to find refuge with some family members who begrudgingly took them in. And so Beatrice is becoming a young woman in the context of having a father who was executed, a tumultuous time of change within her country, and really losing her place within family and within society. But Beatrice is not about to take anything lying down, and she finds herself a great opportunity to re-elevate her status, to achieve her goal of creating a home and establishing herself so that she can continue to prosper and that she can also invite her mother to live with her. And that is the protagonist's initial goal when we first meet Beatrice. So Beatrice meets this guy named Rodolfo who has an hacienda, and that is called Hacienda San Isidro, and he is the man of the house there. So she says, I will marry you, and I'm going to move into this hacienda, and I'm going to be the woman of the house, and I'm going to get back up on my feet in life. Beatrice is very determined, she's very resourceful, and we find ourselves rooting for Beatrice throughout the book. So Beatrice moves into this house, and she's at first kind of playing HGTV with it. She's like, I'm going to put the couch over there, I'm going to put my flat screen TV, I'm going to put my flat screen painting, it's the 1800s, I'm going to put my flat screen painting up on the wall, I'm going to redesign this room, I'm going to move things around, and all of a sudden the house starts to give her really creepy vibes. She starts to hear things, she starts to hear a female voice kind of whispering and laughing and taunting her, and she's looking around like, can anyone else hear this? But everyone else is just kind of going about their business and acting like everything is fine. She starts to feel a drafty chill, that everyone else is like, no, it's good. This is like, there's great ventilation in this house. But Beatrice is not a fool, and she knows that something is afoot. So she starts to ask other people who live in this hacienda what is going on, and she gets to meet a really interesting cast of characters. So obviously there's her husband named Rodolfo, who is a major character in the sense that he transports her to this hacienda where she starts her new life, but he is not a main player within this story, at least at first. So she has Rodolfo, but she also gets to know some other people. She gets to know Rodolfo's sister named Juana, who also lives at the hacienda, and Juana is brooding, she is jaded, and she is not really interested in engaging with Beatrice or anybody else. She's a quite complex and interesting character, and I like getting to know her. There is also Ana Luisa, who is the woman who is running this entire hacienda. She's the cook, she's manages all the other staff, and she's a very strong woman, but she also is not that interested in opening up to Beatrice. And then Ana Luisa has a daughter who is a young adult named Paloma, who is very hardworking and a delight, and forms a great friendship with Beatrice. So Beatrice goes up to these people and she's trying to figure out what is going on in her new house, but no one's really telling her, and she knows that there's something afoot. So Beatrice decides to seek advice and refuge and protection within her local church, and she meets Father Andres, who is a young new priest that is open to trying to help her identify what's going on in the house. Beatrice wants to have an exorcism. All the other priests turn away, they don't want to be engaged in it, and Andres says, sure, let's do this. So we get to see Beatrice and Andres team up as they try to cast out the bad spirits of this house, and it gets a little bit complicated, if you can imagine. So that is essentially the summary setting up the plot of this book. A lot goes down after that, but I don't want to spoil anything. And if you are interested in books that have a gothic kind of atmospheric vibe, or if you like books where the setting really feels like a character in and of itself, I highly, highly recommend this book. Now, if you don't want to be spoiled, you should stop watching, and I will give you 2 seconds to do that, and then I'm going to jump into my spoilery thoughts. Here are my spoilery thoughts on this book. I have 2 main things that really captivated me. I was very, very interested in seeing how the hacienda itself, the house itself, grew as a character throughout this book. When we first met it, it was kind of like looking at Beatrice and saying, something's wrong, I don't like having this new person here, but I'm going to remain kind of quieter and let her feel it out. And then the second Beatrice started messing around with the house and trying to ward off the spirits, the house grew very strong and very powerful, and I felt like I could really visualize this house as a character trying to fight against Beatrice and fight against Andres. Obviously, I was not rooting for the house, I was rooting for Team Beatrice and Andres, but I did like seeing how the house actually felt very much alive and very much possessed. I thought that was really, really cool. So shout out to the house for being a great character in this book. I also loved the different directions that Andres was being pulled in throughout this novel. He is a priest, and so he's devoted to Catholicism, he's devoted to the people, he is quite pious and devoted to his idea of a god, and at the same time he's also a witch, and he has this whole background and history of that running in his family. His grandmother taught him how to kind of harness these powers and use magic, and he's torn between these 2 worlds. And then at the same time, he also has what he calls a darkness. Oh, hi, my cat. She's so good. Andres also has what he perceives as a darkness within him that he actually uses as a huge strength to cast out the ghost of the house. Maria Catalina, who ends up being the spirit who was plaguing everyone. He feels pulled. He feels like he shouldn't have this darkness. He feels like he should be what others expect him to be as a priest. He feels that he should be what others expect him to be as a witch. And then at the same time, he's also falling in love with Beatrice, which I totally get, because they're both great characters. Like, of course, they're going to fall in love with each other. I was really engaged with both the growth of Andres as a character throughout the book and also the house. And then lastly, I gotta say, I loved Beatrice. I have read a lot of books where there's a female protagonist that is in a situation where they can really doubt themselves, like a house is haunted, or someone is missing, or there's some kind of unexplained problem. And I've seen that a lot of times authors write these female protagonists to spend most of the plot doubting themselves, or thinking that they may be losing their mind, or that they should not be sure of themselves. Beatrice does that a little bit because she's a human who reflects on things, but she mostly doesn't doubt herself. She's like, no, I am not crazy. This house is talking to me. We need to take steps to solve it. And I really like that. It moved the plot along. It was very refreshing. I thought it was handled really well. And at the same time, in addition to having a great plot, a great setting, and a great cast of characters, Isabel Cañas does a really good job of weaving in important sociological aspects of this character's life. We talk about colonialism and how Mexico has recently gained its independence from Spain. We hear about colorism because Beatrice, her skin tone is darker than a lot of her peers, and that impacts her status in society, and she has to navigate that. There's sexism because Juana wants to live in the hacienda and wants to be the matriarch of this family, and it continuously gets pulled under her. The rug gets pulled out from under her because Rodolfo's like, no, I'm the man of the house, which Juana didn't take lying dumb because she committed multiple murders. So probably not the right way to assert yourself, but I can understand wanting to fight the patriarchy. So 1 point for Juana, but negative a million points for homicide. And overall, I thought this book handled a lot of plots really, really well. I enjoyed it. I 10 out of 10 recommend The Hacienda by Isabel Cañas, and I think you should read it. Thank you for watching my channel. If you enjoyed this review, make sure you subscribe, and I will see you later. Bye!